You're listening to the Open Books Podcast.
Your next chapter starts now.
Is it love, 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 love that I'm feeling? Is it love, 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 love that I'm feeling? Is she the one?
Hello, fellow Open Books listeners, and welcome back to another episode of the Open Books Podcast. We're always so happy to be hanging out with y'all. In today's episode, we're diving into The Housemaid is Watching by Freida McFadden.
She is watching.
She's
that Housemaid?
I hope she's watching this episode.
I do too.
And listening.
Girl, we have a lot to say. I've been dying to talk about this for a minute. So, The Housemaid is Watching by Freida McFadden. We read it. I listened to the audiobook. What did you listen to or read or both?
No, I've read.
You did?
Kindle? I tried to do the audiobook and I couldn't. I couldn't do it.
You couldn't bear the narrator's voice.
The narrator's voice was so aggravating. I think because in my mind, Millie didn't sound like that. Stop making her sound like. And I know it's like the narrator's voice, so she can't help
Sorry
that.
to this woman.
Sorry.
Hated
Anyway,
it.
all that to say, I couldn't do the audiobook, so I did Kindle.
Okay, so I admire that. I pushed through the audiobook, and
I admire that. So
let's get into it.
does it break your heart a little before we jump in?
Yes. So I have this in my notes too, when I was going to give my overall thoughts, but I think it's perfect to say now that
Disclaimer,
we have so much respect for Freida McFadden. She is an amazing author. She's an amazing woman. She has a really inspiring career.
Yes, she was
a doctor. She was an icon.
She's a legend.
She's a legend. And we've read many books that we ate up and loved by her.
Yes, but
this one, it's not good.
It wasn't it. It wasn't it.
It's not a good look, love.
No. No, I
don't think so. So our big disclaimer here is that we completely recognize how much work authors put into their stories.
Yes, we're not taking that away.
No, and that's why it's very hard to judge a book. Genuinely.
It is. That's the hardest part of reviewing a book is because you feel like you want to protect their feelings
100%.
and you don't want to just rip apart someone's hard work and this is their livelihood.
Seriously, hours and time and dedication that they put into building the story.
But again, not every book is going to be for every person.
Right.
So,
and I think authors
that comes
know
with
that.
the territory.
Exactly.
I think it comes with the territory. So.
Yeah, I think they're aware that they're putting this work out there and it's not everyone's going to love it.
Yeah.
But it does make me a little sad because I'm just I would be. Don't tell me about if I write a book, you better not give me a bad review. I couldn't handle it.
Don't you dare.
So I fully understand that it's tough. But I think, like you said, it comes with the territory, and us having our opinions on this particular book doesn't take away from how awesome of an author we think
exactly
she is.
She has incredible books
for sure. Okay, so the Housemaid series was written by Freida McFadden. The first book in the series was just The Housemaid. That was one of the most popular and trending books of hers, I think, and it was definitely one that I think brought a lot of people into her fandom. I think it's a book that people go to and ask what's a good thriller. The Housemaid is up there. So I think Freida saw that book's success and decided to run with it. So she did The Housemaid Secret. The Housemaid Secret was the second book. And then now that leads us to The Housemaid is Watching. So I kind of just came together with a little synopsis of the first two books to kind of lead you guys into the book that we just read.
That's smart. That's good for people.
Yeah, so the Housemaid series follows a girl named Millie. She has a troubling past. When she was younger, she killed a boy who was sexually abusing her friend, and she ended up in jail for 10 years. When she got out of jail, she struggled to find jobs and have a normal life. So in the first book, she ended up getting a job as a housemaid for a rich family where she found herself in a really scary situation. The wife of the family, whose name was Nina, was very insane, neurotic, and oftentimes cruel to Millie. And her husband seemed like he was seemingly perfect. However, Millie ended up finding out that the husband was actually a psychopath who tortured the wife, Nina, And that kind of explained her crazy and cruel behavior. And eventually, Millie ends up under her husband's abuse. So then Nina takes their child, Cece, and leaves. Millie ends up outsmarting that husband and kills him, fleeing without being caught. So in that first book, she meets Enzo in the midst of all this, who is this really hot Italian man who works in their garden. He helps protect Millie and helps her get away, and they develop a strong bond. So then that leads us to the second installment of the Housemaid series called The Housemaid is Watching. That's when we're following Millie and her new escapades as a housemaid with another family. She and Enzo have found their way back together, and they have this secret business where they help battered women who are trying to escape their abusive husbands. Millie in this book gets accused of murder, and with the help from Enzo, she escapes once again. So now we reach the third and last book of the series, which is set a little bit over a decade after The Housemaid's Secret. So now's the summary of The Housemaid is Watching. This summary I kind of mixed between one that I found online and then like added a little bit more detail to. This one that I found online was a blog, directly from a blog called Bibliophile, which sounded like super familiar. So then I clicked on it. Very, very like popular blog. This specific summary was written by Jen Marie.
Thank you, Jen.
Like, we're all ready for this like thrilling ride.
Are you ready?
Like drum roll. In part one, so the book was separated into a couple parts. 13 years after the events of The Housemaid's Secret, Millie is now a social worker, and she and Enzo are married with 2 kids, Nico, who's 9, and Ada, who's 11. They've just moved into a house on a cul-de-sac with 2 neighbors nearby. Janice is a single mother with a son, Spencer, who's in Nico's class. Janice is a nosy neighbor who's a little unpleasant. Her other neighbors are Suzette and Jonathan Lowell, which are a well-off couple who offered to help Enzo promote his landscaping business to people they know or work with him. They have a housemaid named Martha who Enzo ends up hiring to come clean for them twice a month. Millie finds Martha odd and dislikes how Suzette flirts blazingly with Enzo in front of her face. When Millie catches Martha stealing a necklace from her jewelry box, she fires her. Meanwhile, Millie has been hearing a scratching noise coming from the house. They end up finding a small hidden room in the house, and Millie asks Enzo to seal it up. Soon, Nico gets into a fight at school and also while playing a Little League game, so Millie plans to send him to see a therapist because she notices that his aggressive behavior towards others is increasing. Nico actually ends up accidentally breaking a window at Suzette's house while playing with a ball, and Millie asks Suzette how she can repay them, hoping that it won't cost too much money because Millie's family's finances are super tight, which is something she talks about often in the book. Suzette agrees that Nico can come over to their house to do chores for them as a repayment for the broken window. So Millie lets Nico, her son, start going over there daily to do work for them. As Suzette and Enzo spend more and more time together, Millie gets increasingly convinced that Enzo is cheating on her. Suzette is a super touchy and inappropriate with Enzo. Every time they're around each other, she's constantly making Millie feel inferior and stupid, and she praises Enzo right in front of Millie's face for being strong, handsome, and helpful. Millie feels like Suzette is openly hitting on her husband, and there is nothing... although Enzo always brushes Millie's concerns off and tries to reassure her that he loves her and that there's nothing going on between him and Suzette. Millie also finds out, though, that Enzo has secretly withdrawn $1,000 from their joint account. One day, Millie comes home and Enzo isn't around, so she goes looking for him at Suzette's place, but instead of finding Enzo, she finds Jonathan Lowell, Suzette's husband, lying dead on the ground with his throat slit. So then we get to part 2, where the police investigation starts. The police suspect Enzo as Jonathan Lowell's murderer. Suzette had recently increased her life insurance payout, and Janice told them about how often Enzo was going over to Suzette's house. Janice also says that Enzo had gone over 2 hours before Jonathan's death, and that she was the one who called the police when she heard yelling come from Suzette's house. Enzo says that Martha's husband is abusive and controls their money. Martha had been stealing in order to get money to be able to leave him, and Enzo used that $1,000 that he took out of their account to purchase a gun for Martha. Enzo didn't tell Millie about his helping Martha because her blood pressure had been really high and she was stressed out, and he didn't want her to have more stress. Millie reaches out to Benito Rodriguez, a man from Book 2, who is an NYPD detective who had become close friends with the couple. Benito reaches out to a public defender who turns out to be Cecilia Winchester, who is actually the daughter from Book 1. Cecilia remembers them, Enzo and Millie, and she wants to help them for all the help that they gave her and her mother all those years ago in Book 1. As they talk to Cecilia, Enzo admits that he used to work for Dario Fontana, a mobster, when he lived in Italy before he came to the U.S. Dario married his sister Antonio, but Dario was abusive to her, so Enzo killed him, which is why he left Italy. When the police search their house, they find what they believe to be the murder weapon, and they go to arrest Enzo. Enzo then admits that he killed Jonathan. However, after Enzo is arrested, Millie's daughter Ada says that she was the one who killed Jonathan and that Enzo is covering for her. In part 3, it's revealed that Ada found out that Nico has been acting out because Mr. Lowell, Suzette's husband, had been forcing him to go over to their house to quote-unquote play in a weird, scary room while he watched him like a predator. This was happening when he was there doing chores, and Nico would lie to Millie and say that he was going to a friend's house when he was really forced to be going back to Suzette's house by her freak of a husband. Ada went to confront Mr. Lowell about her brother, but found a room filled with toys and a creepy cot with red-stained sheets instead. Mr. Lowell found her there snooping, and when he wouldn't let her leave, Ada stabbed him with a pocket knife that Enzo had given to her for protection from some boy bullies at school. In the next part, Ada reveals all of this to Millie, who understands now that Enzo must have realized it was actually their daughter Ada who had killed Mr. Lowell because of the pocket knife he had gave to her, which was found to be the murder weapon. And Enzo must have admitted to the murder in order to protect their daughter Ada. When Enzo calls Millie from jail, she pleads with him not to confess to the police since Ada is unlikely to be convicted for this. Benito tells Millie that Suzette's DNA was also found in Lowell's hidden room, as well as DNA and blood from a boy a few towns over who went missing, proving that Suzette knew about her husband's creepy room of horrors. Millie and Benito go to see Suzette, and they present her with two options. Either falsely confess to murdering her husband in order to free Enzo, saying that she found about his misdeeds, or Benito is going to come after her for the murder of the missing boy, since it's clear from her DNA all over that room that she was involved in some way. Suzette confessed to killing her husband. In the epilogue, it is revealed that even though Ada stabbed Jonathan in the stomach, it was actually Martha who happened to come back to steal a few things. Martha was the housemaid, by the way. And she finished Jonathan off by slicing his throat. And that was it. There's one other thing that this summary didn't mention that I want to throw in there because I find it to be important. The reason that Nico, Millie's son, was even at the Lowell's house in the first place. Oh my gosh,
great point.
Yeah, it was a huge part of the storyline, I think. So what happened was Nico was throwing a ball. He hit a window, I think it was.
Correct.
So in order to repay them, because Millie had no money, in order to repay the family for the window, Suzette said, well, he can come over and do chores. So every day, Nico was going over to Suzette's house and doing quote-unquote chores, and that's how he ended up being, like, under the thumb of Suzette's predator husband. And that's why his behavior started acting crazy and aggressive, and that was, like, a huge plot point. So that's why the only reason he was there.
That was major.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that wasn't in there.
Yeah. So I think that was it. I mean, there's a couple other things like the beach incident that happened.
Okay, so let's just jump into our questions because we have obviously we share our thoughts with each other so often in real time, but we do try our best to like keep our big points for the podcast. So just jumping right in, how did you feel about the overall plot line?
Well, I thought it was very messy. I don't think it was like linear. By the third part of the book, I felt like the plot picked up and like all of that world building that had to happen in the beginning, I understood because it kind of all came together, which like I knew it would the whole time. I'm like, obviously this is going to go somewhere. It just took way too long for me personally as a reader to get like interesting. Like the whole first part of the book, I felt like it was never going to end. All we did was hear from Millie's internal dialogue about like how much she hated her neighbor Suzette, how much of a bitch Suzette was, and how she was just so insecure and had to deal with like her neighbor hitting on her husband. Yeah, that was like the main plot.
And I hated that because in books 1 and 2, that wasn't really Millie. Like,
no,
you know what I mean? Like feeling so insecure, I guess.
Yeah, I felt like she was so insecure. Her internal dialogue, everything, she questioned every move she made.
And it just was so boring.
Boring is a perfect word.
It was boring.
Yeah.
And it was like this average character, which like is fine in some books, but not for this. I agree with it not being linear. I don't think it was linear from book 1 and 2 to 3.
No.
Like it was just like...
what's going on? Like,
this is how it truly felt. It felt like, oh shit, I have to finish off this series. Let me put something out.
Yep.
It felt rushed. It just wasn't, I don't even think it was like necessary to like close out the Housemaid series. Like I don't think it was a necessary book at all.
I don't think it was either. And I think that was prevalent in the storyline. I think there was nothing else to really do with Millie and Enzo. And that's why this book was not very good.
No, and I even would have loved for her to like, and Enzo, like her being the social worker, like more with that. Like maybe they opened up like a community for these women, or like help them on a bigger scale.
Yes. And I hope we talk about that as well. Just like the weirdness of that whole plot line that was like barely mentioned. It was mentioned a little bit in the second book that they had this like secret underground business of helping battered women. Like, how did people find Millie? How did people know that there was this woman named Millie who will help you escape your abusive husband?
Like, word on the street.
Right. Did she just become infamous from book one? Like Nina was going around saying like, yo,
you need this bitch.
you need this bitch. But the end of
Here's
the
her
first
card.
book, like they didn't really end on great terms. Like I don't really remember, but it didn't seem like things were super.
Didn't Millie like want to be with her? Like they hooked up.
Yes.
Remember they had that night away?
Yeah. And Nina was like, haha. And Nina was like, almost like betting on this to happen because she was using Millie as her escape because her husband was terrible, and Nina was like, if my housemaid comes and swoops him in, this is my chance to go.
It's
and
giving
like,
Drowning Woman.
It's giving Drowning Woman, and it's giving Miss Parrish, last Miss Parrish.
The last Miss Parrish.
Like, did I find myself interested at the very end?
Right. Part 3 came and I was like, finally.
some meat to the
Finally
story.
something's happening. I don't want to hear about high blood pressure anymore. I don't want to hear about it. We get it. You're stressed. So are we.
Right. Like if she
Millie.
and if Millie didn't punch Suzette in her face, I was going to lose my mind. Wind it up, Millie. Is she flirting with my husband in front of me? Yeah, she is. Like it couldn't be more obvious.
Also, Enzo being like, she's not the flirting.
Excuse me?
Not the flirting with me.
And then wait, at the very end, Enzo finally admits it to like the police or something. They're like, well, do you think she liked you? And he's like, ugh. Yes, of course she's been flirting with me. If I was Millie, I've been like, motherfucker, that's what. So you've been gaslighting me this whole time.
Like, I'm crazy.
I've had enough.
Enough of that. In this world, the characters have evolved since the last 2 books. Do you feel, and we touched on this, that the character development fell short, or do you feel like it was a good development?
No, I think it fell short.
Absolutely fell short.
Like 5 inches too short.
Ooh, 5 inches is a lot. That was 12 years.
12 years.
Between book 2 and book 3.
So you're telling me that Millie, her entire life has been a whirlwind. She murdered someone at a very young age. She went to jail for 10 years. She's seasoned. She went to jail for 10 years.
You're telling me she did more than 60 days in?
She did.
And this is how she's acting?
Right. You're telling me she did more than 60 days in, and she's letting Suzette touch her man's arm in front of her?
Suzette?
Absolutely not.
Be for real.
Jail for 10 years. Then she survives this insane story from the first book. Like, it's just crazy that she don't even mention that, you know? She's like, in the first book, she literally like gets shoved into an attic and like is tortured.
Has to pull her hair out.
Like has to like lay books on top of her to break her lungs. Like, so she escapes this. Then in the second book, she's accused of murder and gets away with it.
Murder.
Then she's with Enzo, who like clearly she knows is, you know, a wanted fugitive from Italy. So then 10 years later or 13 years later, she finally like scoundrels up enough money, her and Enzo, to move to like this, you know, cul-de-sac. And she's just letting Suzette bully her.
Right.
And I like it. She could have developed 10 times more.
So much better. Like, to me, Millie was a bad bitch.
Yeah, me too.
And these books, like, damn, girl, you went through all of this.
And she's got a whole business.
Like, pop, killing these people.
Yeah.
Even if she's not doing the murdering.
Right.
She's figuring out a way
to get it. She's a playmaker.
Right. Like, she's moving the pieces around to make it happen. And you're meaning to tell me you're worried about your blood pressure?
Girl, if you don't put on a blood pressure cuff, shut the hell up. Like, how did people find Millie and Enzo?
I really think it was word of mouth.
What was the point of the praying mantis? Why did we have to hear about the praying mantis? That plot line went nowhere, right? Was there significance to the praying mantis? If there was,
I don't know. Does that represent something, though? Was that some kind of symbolism we missed?
It might be. And I might have missed it because I was just so significantly, like, unimpressed.
No, I literally was, like, texting you, like, if I have to hear about this fucking praying mantis one more time,
I'm going to shove my Kindle down the toilet.
Pause.
Was there significance to the praying mantis?
Was that part of his behavior changing? He loved it so much, and then remember he just like flushed it down the toilet when it died.
Maybe possible.
That was like his behavior changing because he was so excited about this praying mantis, and then I think it dies, and he like flushes it down.
That's
the
true,
toilet.
and she does say that. She's
And
like,
Millie's
weird
like-
that he loved it so much.
Yeah, and I think Millie's like, you just flushed it down the toilet, like, and he was like, it was dead, Mom.
Her child's behavior did change so much, but the way it was written, it just wasn't written enough to make me really care about the kids. Like, I just thought it was annoying to read about them when really that is like a lot of meat to unpack of like what her kids actually went through.
So a lot of these were just like ticking in conversation, which is
Perfect.
beautiful.
We love when that happens.
So talking about Nico and Ada, initial thoughts and how did their presence in the book drive the plot?
Okay, so like initially I thought their presence was completely pointless because it was so boring.
And
like
honestly annoying.
Annoying.
I've never felt so annoyed by kids characters in a book that we've read. Any book I've read, I've been like, okay, like kids in the book, like you need that. I was so tired of hearing about them because it took so long for their
presence to matter.
To matter, yes.
Yeah. Ada, though, I will say, I liked her little cat, like her point of view.
Oh, that
was cute,
I
right?
enjoyed that a lot.
Okay, good. Me
Okay,
too.
so I did enjoy part 3 of the book.
Okay, is that where Ada kind of comes in?
Yes, that's when we start getting Ada's perspective.
Yes.
It
was
but you know what's
interesting.
wild? I was talking to Angela about this. Ada didn't kill that man.
No, she didn't. She
But like
stabbed him.
she believes she killed that man, and Millie and Enzo are like you know what really happened, and you still let your daughter believe she killed someone.
What in the world?
She's
You're
not
right.
a murderer. Like she went over there to protect her brother, but like she didn't slit his throat,
Not at all. It was
but
Martha.
she believes she killed him.
That's terrible. I have lots of like qualms with Millie and Enzo's honestly parenting choices throughout this novel. Wrap up the Ada thing. I thought that her like POV was cute. I liked how Freida wrote it like from a little 11-year-old tone and
She
voice.
did do a good job with that.
I
like
thought she did
capturing
too.
that. Yes.
Where she was like, my mom this, my dad that. And like, I thought she was a really great big sister, and that was very cute.
Yes.
And I love the sibling dynamic. It was cute.
I know. I like their sleepovers.
Me too.
That
I
was
actually
so cute.
loved that part. I thought I was smiling. She was talking about her little brother. Like, she loved him so much. She wanted him to come in her room, and then her little brother entrusted her in like his huge traumatic secret that he couldn't even tell his mom because his mom was being so freaking selfish with her blood pressure.
Yeah.
He literally said that. He was like, I don't want to stress mom out. She's got high blood pressure.
That was like that's the theme of the book.
Seriously, Millie has
Don't
high
stress
blood pressure.
mom. She has high blood pressure.
A question for you, and I wonder if it's something I
Yes.
missed. Was Nico being sexually or in any way abused by Jonathan, or was he just being a freak watching Nico like play with toys in this like locked, creepy room?
Okay, so I think at the surface level, it was the second thing that you said,
Okay.
that he was like locking him in this room. However, I interpreted it that he was being abused to some extent. I mean, that is abuse. You locking a kid in a room and watching
Right.
him play, like that's creepy as fuck.
But you think there was something physical happening between the two of them?
I do.
I think so
I don't
too.
know if it was sexual, but I think it was
something
because there was like the old blood on the bed that she found, which not saying that was Nico's, but I do believe it would have progressed maybe. To
That's what I
something
think
more.
too. Either way, traumatic.
Yes.
But was the blood just from the first kid that he clearly murdered?
Right,
My
because that
question
was
is-
another thing.
Hello?
The other kid.
Yeah. There was like another kid that was murdered a couple towns over, and it ends up being Jonathan Lowell.
Right.
But I also want to know, what was Jonathan Lowell's like motive? Does he just kill kids? Is he a sexual predator?
Yeah, we really didn't get that.
We didn't get that, and that's a plot hole for me because I want to understand more what Nico went through.
The little room under the stairs in Millie and Enzo's house, it never really came full circle to like what that was used for.
What was the scratching sound that she kept hearing?
I thought it was going to be like something to do with their house too. Even that kind of like storyline would have been cool too.
Yes.
Like they were connected.
Yep.
So I do want to go back to the parenting, the
Okay.
qualms that you have with the parenting.
Yes. So the qualm that I have with parenting is, okay, the whole first half of the book, Millie talks about how shitty of a woman Suzette is. She thinks she explains Suzette to be super rude, very condescending. Like she's always making Millie feel stupid. For example, when the Long Island. Do you live on Long Island or on Long Island? Apparently that's a
That
thing.
was so aggravating.
It was so annoying. So Susan, Millie must have said like we live either in or on Long Island, and Suzette was like, "That's so cute." Like you say it, it's not this, it's that. Suzette was just real condescending.
She was kind of
bitch.
like the worst.
The worst.
She was kind of the worst person.
Yeah. My actual least favorite person. Like everything you say, you have to worry. Like she's gonna come back and make you feel stupid. That's the kind of bitch Suzette was.
Suzette was that type of bitch.
She really was.
I would have never wanted to have a conversation with her.
Ever. So you definitely would not want your child to be around this type of woman all the time. Granted, Suzette was much worse than what we thought because of her husband was actual like child predator. But even if so, I would never want my child to go into the home of someone who is so rude and condescending. Because if she's definitely doing that to your child.
Could you imagine what she was probably telling that little boy
In his ear.
What she was telling him, like, don't you dare tell your
On the beach
mom
day.
and dad. Yeah.
She also said she saw, well, when they were on the beach day, Millie was like, I think that Suzette's whispering something to Nico. So you ain't going to ask?
Building off of that,
Yeah.
you notice all the shit that's happening with your son. You don't do anything about it.
Right.
His like intense, immediate.
All of a sudden,
Change.
he's punching people in the face.
Like you're saying these things in your dialogue, but you act on it 0%. I don't like it.
That's
I
exactly
don't
it.
Like it.
You're right, because her mother's intuition was there. She did have the internal dialogue of like, I feel like something's wrong. Something's not right. We'll do something then, girl. He's literally your kid. That's like your number one priority. Like if you feel like something's not right, figure it out. You see Nico in the beach talking secretly to Suzette, who you know is an asshole. And you're just like, wonder what they're talking about. No, I'd have been
Go
swimming over there.
and be like, what's up?
What are you talking to my 9-year-old child about?
And it being so like close, like in his ear.
Absolutely not.
No. Whatever you need to say to him, you can say it to me.
You can say it to me. I'm literally picturing one of our moms if that had happened. Like I'm picturing me as a child because I could see it happen. Mom would swim over there so fast. She would yank Suzette by her
fast.
head. She would yank her head back and say, "The fuck are you telling my child?"
You're so smart. You can help all these women disappear, kill men, get away with murder, but you don't know to like protect your child.
Right.
more?
You don't know to question, maybe not send him over to Suzette's house.
Fucking just say you're gonna pay for the window. I
Right.
get it. Like money was tight,
Figure it out.
relatable, but like,
Right, of course.
baby, I will affirm.
Exactly.
I will pay you in installments. Like I don't want my
Klarna.
kid over there.
Exactly.
Klarna. I don't want him
Or
there.
you offer. You know what I mean? If she's like, he can come over and do
Right.
chores. Sure, I understand.
I'll
like
come with
learn-
him.
Because Suzette's not a normal person. First of all, I don't trust a single person around my child. Like,
Not a stranger. You just moved in.
and
to the
a stranger
house.
who's mean to you.
Right.
So send him over.
By himself at 9 years old.
Okay.
No,
Absolutely not.
I don't like it.
And then about Enzo real quick, like about his shitty parenting, like sure he cared about his, like he was a great dad, he was loving, blah, blah, blah. But like all of that gets thrown out the window when you're like taking money out of your kid's mouth, the $1,000. At this point, Enzo, your 2 children are your priority. You don't need to be taking $1,000 out of the joint account that only had $1,000 in it, by the way. They had like no money.
Literally, you took all of the money.
For a gun, for a random,
I'm sorry, Martha.
right.
Sometimes you got to get it how you live. I'm not saying you got to stay with that man. I mean, like, you got to figure it out on your own.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry.
Like, Enzo, you did not have to give her your children's $1,000 to buy her a gun. No, he should have said exactly like he said, Martha, I'm sorry.
Look, I got Ada a pocket knife. I'm
Right.
going to get you a pocket knife.
Right, exactly. I'll get you, I'll do what I can, but no.
Right.
We barely
That-
can afford fucking McDonald's.
See, that's another really important detail, right?
Right.
Like, we can barely put food on this table.
Right.
And I guess, like, he's such a good man.
Yeah.
But at some point, you have to have a boundary and you've got to draw the line.
And he did not.
And he didn't.
And Millie, like, she wasn't mad about that, really. She's like, oh, he was just doing our job.
I know. I think she was like so blinded
Mm-hmm.
because he was hot.
So true. The whole book, she's like, he's stupid as hell. She's Italian accent.
But damn, this man keeps getting finer and finer.
She does. She says that. She's like, God, I'm just like an old hag, and he's just so hot.
Off.
What do
I'm
you
like,
picture Enzo? Like, I'm trying to think of. I do
will tell
picture
you
him
ex-
gorgeous.
You know who I picture him as? Oh my gosh, what's his name? 360 days, but it's like literally
Yes,
just like sex.
that's
sex,
Enzo.
sex. That is Enzo.
That's Enzo.
Like
What is his name?
Michelle Marone.
That's his name?
Yes.
Michelle Maroon.
But I'm sure I'm saying that so wrong.
Mealy.
And then I saw,
All right, Millie, I get it.
I saw in one of the psychological thriller groups that we're in on Facebook that Millie would be,
I said my tongue's bothering
oh my
me.
God, Victoria Pedretti.
Thank you. I absolutely love her. I
Like
think
she's
Millie.
Millie. I really think we covered everything, like bigger points from the book.
I think so too.
Overall, did you like it? How do you feel?
Here's my like main takeaways that I remember thinking as I was reading the book. Millie's internal dialogue was extremely painful to read. She was so insecure, constantly questioning herself. I felt it was very inconsistent with the Millie of the other two books that we read. So there's that.
Agreed with that.
There's that character development
Yes.
that just wasn't like aligning. Punch her in the face. Tell Suzette to fuck off. Like
Politely. No, actually,
not
rudely.
politely. Yeah,
Rudely.
she's rubbing your husband's hand in front of you. Absolutely not.
Oh, God.
Okay. Why did Enzo and Millie care more about helping others in need when they needed to be caring about their own damn kids? Okay, question mark. First half of the book was so boring. The writing in the book is what felt really off to me. After finishing it, like the plot was decent, but the overall like journey to get there wasn't worth it to me. I found it to really drag. I'm just looking for I think we're looking for things a little bit more involved.
You know, I very much often agree with you.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with you again. It didn't do it for me. I almost was like, I was underwhelmed most of the book until the last part. I didn't think about the book much after I finished. And I think that's really a marker of a good book is when we say it all the time, but like The Troop, I think about that book a lot.
Yep.
Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I think about it a lot. And this one will take a back burner. I'll be like, oh wait, did we read that?
Yeah.
So
Like, did that even happen?
did that even happen? Yeah. So for me, I gave it a 3. I do think I was generous with my 3. I think I like that third star is because it was Freida McFadden and I pretend that I know her personally and
Yeah.
I like don't want to hurt her feelings because I love her. She's like a cousin to me.
Yes.
So
Yeah. She's like a distant auntie.
right. Like I don't want her to be upset with me.
And I think we
In my
have
opinion.
given like her other books that we've read from her, I think we've given them like very much praise.
I have a 5-star review and a 1-star review for you.
Let's hear 'em.
And I like to hear your opinions on those. So our 5-star review, these are always from Goodreads. Crack. That is the sound of Freida McFadden knocking it out of the ballpark. The Housemaid is Watching is an addictive, riveting, tense, and thrilling page turner in the Housemaid series. I had a hard time putting this book down as I was completely dazzled by the story. I love the drama, the mystery, the doubt, the secrets, and the lies. Plus, there is the warning, be careful of your neighbors. Nothing feels more welcoming than being told to be on your guard. It's crazy because like the teacher,
I could not put it
on
down.
a plate, give me a fork. I couldn't stop eating it up.
What did they say? I love it. Give me 14 of them.
Spectacular, give me 14 of them.
That's the teacher.
That's the teacher. And
Yeah.
then we get this and it's just not, but you know what? They can't all be 5 stars.
It's so true.
Okay. Here's a 1 star. Absolutely not. That's it. But I do have another one. DNFing this book at 50% because what the fuck is this? The first 2 books in the series were so good, but this seems like someone else wrote it. Legit, nothing happens in the first 50%, and I'm so sick of hearing the main character complain about her husband and neighbor and ending every chapter thinking this was a mistake or I think someone is lying to me. I never give books 1-star ratings, especially if I DNF it, but man, this sucked. Freida has lost her touch because I don't know what the fuck this book was.
I think like what you said in the beginning of this episode really stood out to me, that it just seemed like it wasn't necessary for this story to end in that way. And I think that's why the book just didn't hit, is because like there wasn't much more places to go. So
I agree. And for me personally, if it would have ended at book 2, I would have been fine.
Yeah.
I enjoyed book 2, really enjoyed book 1.
would have been sweet on it.
It would have left me being like, read the Housemaid series. Now I'm in a place where I'm like, book 1 and 2.
Yeah.
You don't really have to read book 3.
Stop there.
You can stop right there.
There's that other series that was like that we were like obsessed with for a minute. It was like that very like raunchy series.
Ravenhood.
The Ravenhood. And it was like the first 1 and 2 was like so good, and then I didn't read the third because I think everybody was like, it's not that great.
Yeah.
Taking it
I
too
read
far.
It's crazy too because like I like smutty books. That one was like my first like real intro to like, I was like, oh.
Me too.
Oh, and it's weird because like I really don't read a lot of like, I'm just like, if it's there, cool. Sometimes it curses me out, but like
Right.
that third book wasn't as smutty if I remember correctly.
And then it was just like kind of
I
boring.
did cry. Yeah, it was just kind of like,
Yeah. And sometimes that
but
happens
1 and
with
2
trilogies,
were like
really.
wild.
There's one review from a Facebook post that
Yes.
we made. So April said, "I loved it, even if I wanted to fight Suzette, Jonathan, Enzo a couple times, mostly Suzette. The neighbor from across the road, I forgot her name. She gave me a creepy vibe.
Was that Janice?
Yes, Janice. But she ended up being the
Janice.
quote unquote good neighbor. I was very surprised to see some characters pop up from other books. I did like that twist with Cece.
Yeah, we didn't talk that.
Like, what the hell happened to Cece?
Yeah.
What was her childhood like? Did she know all the crazy shit she was going through in that first book? And like, how did she end
That
up
would
where
have been
she is?
such a cool perspective.
Yes.
That would have been very cool.
Like a little spin-off.
But
Yeah. So
We
this
didn't get
person
it.
said, I was very surprised to see some of the other characters pop up. As always, the twists are unexpected. And just when you think you have it figured out, you don't. I'm hoping Frida will write a spin-off or two so we know what happens with Ada and Nico as they grew up after the events in this book. So
that would be interesting.
it would be. And some people did enjoy the book. The overall, like, consensus that I'm seeing online, does fall a little bit more on our review.
Our side.
Let's hear what Angela has to say.
Man, this book pissed me off. How dare she shit on the closing and her main character's development? No way a woman who defends others' lives would sit around and ignore her own children's well-being, as if. Total stupidity. Also, why the hell didn't this family ever have a damn conversation? The child didn't kill anyone. And the housemaid was not, in fact, watching shit. If she was, then someone would have known who did what. Stupid.
Yeah.
Y'all, she really does give like the best, like concise, bite-sized little
She wraps it up.
blurbs. Yeah. But it's also true.
Yeah.
Lacey on Facebook
Oh, yes.
said that she enjoyed it. Not as much as the first one, but it was still a good read for her, which is
Okay.
good.
I'm glad.
People are enjoying reading the book because it is a very shitty feeling when you're like, I don't want to read this book.
Yes, it puts you in a slump, and that's the worst place to be because when you're in a good reading kick, it's so exciting. You have
Yes.
something to look forward to. And when you are in a place where you're not enjoying the book, but you're like, fuck, I need to finish this, it sucks.
It does
so
suck.
if you did feel as though you were in like that phase of like, fuck, I need to finish this, thank you for following along with us, and thank you for reading it, and thank you for sending us your thoughts.
Yes, and y'all don't understand
The joy it
how
brings?
much we appreciate when y'all interact with us and you share and you listen. But our favorite thing above all is y'all reading along with us and sending us your thoughts.
Yeah.
We love it so much.
Nothing like just makes me more excited. I'm like,
Yeah, join
tell me what you think.
Join our little community,
Yes.
please. So, speaking of our community, I guess it's time for our next on the shelf.
Let's hear it.
So, hopefully, this book brings us out of what we just endured. Is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. We have read one of his books previously on the podcast, and that book was
The only one left.
So, in the latest jaw-dropping thriller from New York Times bestselling author Riley Sager, a man must contend with the long-ago disappearance of his childhood best friend and the dark secrets lurking just beyond the safe confines of his picture-perfect neighborhood. The worst thing to ever happen on Hemlock Circle occurred in Ethan Marsh's backyard. One July night, which I also love that it's July, so like I love when books add up like that.
That's so exciting.
I know, right? One July night, 10-year-old Ethan and his best friend and neighbor Billy fell asleep in a tent set up on a manicured lawn in a quiet, quaint New Jersey cul-de-sac. In the morning, Ethan woke up alone. During the night, someone had sliced the tent open with a knife and taken Billy. He was never seen again. 30 years later, Ethan has reluctantly returned to his childhood home, plagued by bad dreams and insomnia. He begins to notice strange things happening in the middle of the night. Someone seems to be roaming the cul-de-sac at odd hours, and signs of Billy's presence keep appearing in Ethan's backyard. Is someone playing a cruel prank? Or has Billy, long thought to be dead, somehow returned to Hemlock Circle? The mysterious occurrences prompt Ethan to investigate what really happened that night, a quest that reunites him with former friends and neighbors and lead him into the woods that surround Hemlock Circle.
That sounds actually very good.
It sounds really good.
That sounds amazing. And I have a question. Is this book, are you able to tell, is it a newer release? I haven't really seen people talk about this one yet, which makes
This
me
one?
curious because people usually are like circulating Riley Sager books.
published June 18th, 2024.
I love that.
367 pages.
Wait, so we're like in on a new
we're in on
publish.
a new publish.
That makes me
which
very
we kind of
excited.
have like a little trend going
We
because
do. The teacher
teacher was a
watching.
new, yeah.
I'm so excited about that.
Dare I
okay.
say.
Such
Our
a
little
good
niche.
idea. As always, thank you for listening to this one. Thank you for powering through. Follow us on Instagram. That's where we're most like interactive, in the Facebook page.
Yes.
At Open Books Podcast, and leave us a review. Every podcast that I've listened to lately, the hosts are always asking their listeners to leave a review, and they always say it helps the show like so much. So I'm just choosing to believe that that's like the truth. Like that's got to be
It does.
There's got to be some truth behind that.
And y'all help us find our audience.
Exactly. So do that. Leave us a review, and we love ya.
Love you.
Bye.